counties. We're still at a level 1. We are now at maximum sustained winds around 65 miles per hour, but that will likely continue to weaken over the next 48 hours. We do anticipate flooding in the northern part of the state, not just for the direct impacts of the rain, but also as southern Georgia gets soaked, that water makes its way down to Florida as well. The Florida Division of Emergency Management has completed 435 storm-related missions, and they are currently in the process of completing another 400 more. These are requests from counties and other local entities for assistance on storm response. Some of the examples are high water vehicles, generators, and providing additional personnel. As of this morning, about 250,000 Floridians are without power. 113,000 for private utilities, 111,000 for co-ops, and 20,000 customers for municipal utilities. We do have a lot of assets available that are going to help connect people back, and in fact, over 450,000 accounts have been restored since the storm began, and we're of course going to continue to help to make sure that everybody's back online. We do have 17,000 linemen that are available for help. We have, because of some of the things that we've done in the past, recognized that there does need to be a mutual aid from time to time. We did sign legislation recently ensuring that utilities seeking state support for power restoration are willing to accept this mutual aid. It's really important. We're ready to assist. We want to assist. We mentioned constructing about 9,400 feet of flood protection devices supporting critical infrastructure against flooding from the storm. This has been done for things like hospitals in the past. This time it was deployed around utility substations, and I'm pleased to report that all the flood control barriers that were erected around utility substations ahead of the storm have successfully protected those facilities from stormwater damage. So we have 250,000 without power. Probably would have had more if not for that. So I think that was successful deployment of resources. They also protected lift stations, bridges, residential areas, animal shelters, and healthcare facilities. We have both the National and State Guard on the ground conducting reconnaissance, damage assessments, and route clearance missions. Now, this did not bring the catastrophic hurricane force winds that we've seen in previous storms like Hurricane Ian, but it has and continues to produce lots of water. We have reported a total of 4 fatalities. Again, these are when you're in the traffic stuff, we count it. We had 2 fatalities from a traffic accident in Dixie County, 1 in Hillsborough, which was the big rig truck, and then we did have 1 fatality of a young girl who was killed when a tree fell onto the roof of the family's home in Levy County. So as of now, we have 4 confirmed fatalities since the storm has begun. Are we live, or are we? We're still live? Okay, good. So that's obviously very tragic. We do think, though, that Floridians heeding the call of being careful, particularly on the roads, has reduced what would otherwise have been, because there's been some nasty conditions out there. So please be very cautious when you're going out. We're going to continue to see some of these roadways that are going to have water, particularly in northern Florida, and that's going to happen. FDOT is working. As soon as it's safe to do, then they will open up different portions of roads. We want people to be able to get around, but we don't want to see these accidents or anyone be put in danger. We have 3,500 service members from the State Emergency Response Team that is from the Florida National Guard, as well as the 14 rotary aircraft and 450 tactical vehicles. Of course, we have 100 soldiers from the Florida State Guard and 12 swiftwater rescue teams from Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. There may be days after the storm passes, there may be needs because of flooding to do rescue operations. I mean, that is possible, and that has happened in the past. So we have the assets on the ground ready to do. Of course, we do have a lot of both food and water that we always have ready. We are going to be doing our points of distribution, the pods, As soon as the storm has completely left the state, those pods will go. Those missions will begin tomorrow. We've accepted requests from Jefferson, Dixie, and Taylor counties to stand up pods for residents who need help or resources. As well, in addition to that, the Department of Commerce plans to set up a resource center for businesses, consumers, and others in need tomorrow at Taylor County Middle School. And as there's needs around the state, Commerce will also flex to be able to meet those needs. Thus far, 150 FDOT crews have assessed over 8,400 lane miles for damages. 69 bridge inspectors teams are in the field and have performed over 1,300 inspections. 125 FDOT crews are in the field and have performed cut and toss operations on close to 4,500 miles. Sunshine Skyway Bridge is still experiencing closures. I think there's some signage that is tough to get to. It creates a hazard, and they just needed the winds to die down a little bit. So we anticipate them being able to take care of that in relatively short order and reopen those portions as well. We have deployed traffic signal generators and pumps to clear and maintain the operability of intersections around the state. For up-to-date information about any road closures in your area, you can visit fl511.com, fl511.com. Manatee, Tampa, and St. Pete seaports are closed, but all are due to open later this evening, and all airports are open. So just a reminder that as we have more and more water, we are going to see flooding, particularly in the northern part of the state. Be very careful. Don't go out into flood waters. There can be hazards there. There can be debris, and there can be downed electrical cables there, which will represent a threat to your safety. And please do not go driving if roads are underwater. That is not something that's going to end well. And just take the proper precautions. If you need any emergency management information specific to your local areas, you can go to floridadisaster.org/counties. And now I'll turn it over to Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you so much, Governor. As the governor said, Hurricane Debby made landfall near Steinhatchee today at 7 a.m. this morning as a Category 1 hurricane, bringing with it tons and tons of rain. The state will continue to experience tropical conditions, and we just experienced that here in live time, through tomorrow as Debby makes its way through North Florida. The hazards from this system are far-reaching and will be long-lasting. Our next event in this evolution of this disaster is going to be the riverine flooding that the governor has talked about. I want to make sure that people understand this could take anywhere from 3 to 7 days, depending on the type of basin and the type of river that we're dealing with. So this is going to be about a week-long event that we're going to be monitoring. But rest assured, the governor and his leadership, the state emergency response team, and myself are committed. We will be here the entire time. You will have resources in your counties ready to respond to whatever may come. As the governor's mentioned, we are fulfilling nearly 900 missions. We're about 50% of all of those are completely filled, and about 50% more in progress. And just to give you a little more context, the stuff that came in before the disaster has been filled. Now we're starting to get those requests for things like additional pumps and additional items after the disaster. Missions could be everything from personnel support, law enforcement, urban search and rescue, food, water, ice, tarps. The state continues to have twice daily coordination calls with our counties to ensure that they have all the requested needs that they need at the local level. Tomorrow, our recovery teams will begin conducting those damage assessments and working inside the impacted communities to find out what the actual needs are going to be at the homeowner level. It is vital that you avoid using roads until your local officials have confirmed that they are safe. This is for your own safety and the safety of others. It's that point in time in a disaster that we hate to have to say this, but please do not go out disaster sightseeing. We have crews that are out there working feverishly to try to restore power and respond to other issues that are going on in real time. So please do not ride through neighborhoods and see what's going on. Please just tune into your local news station and get those updates yourself. Many roads are flooded, so please, again, do not drive through flooded waters. It only takes 6 inches of moving water to knock you off your feet and 1 foot of water to sweep a vehicle, even a large SUV, off the road. Our state assistance information line, or our cell line, is up and running. Residents needing resources after Hurricane Debby can call 1-800-342-3557, and we have English and Spanish speakers available to answer your questions right now. After a disaster, scammers often attempt to take advantage of survivors. I encourage everyone impacted by Debby to be vigilant and report any suspicious activity. Also report any price gouging to the Attorney General. Their price gouging hotline is 1-866-966-7226. In this same vein, I want to make sure that people are not falling victim to scammers when it comes to contractor licensing. The governor has declared a state of emergency, and therefore it is a third-degree felony to do any unlicensed contracting in an emergency. If you see something, please call us and let us know. If you want to check somebody's license, you can do that at myfloridalicense.com. Please don't fall for scams. If it's too good to be true, somebody's asking you for a cash deposit, that is most likely a scam. Please do not do that. Give no one cash inside of a disaster. I talked this morning about how if you need volunteer organizations to come in and assist you, we do have our crisis cleanup line up and running now. So our crisis cleanup, where you can get assistance to do that work at your home, is 1-800-451-1954. Again, that's 1-800-451-1954. Here at the division, we move quickly and we stand ready to provide the needed support to all of our Big Bend communities and all those throughout the peninsula that have been impacted by this disaster. We will continue to be here and help the communities recover long after the storm, but please be sure to follow us and follow our agency to get all of your latest updates and the information that we're talking about, even here today at this press conference, on X and Instagram at FLSERT, that's at FLCERT, and on Facebook at FDEM. You can also get our traditional website at floridadisaster.org/updates. And once again, Governor, thank you so much for your support.
Sure. So we'll end up, for what was staged and all the preparations, I mean, we will not even scratch the surface of needing to use what was mobilized. And I think that's the way to do it. We want to make sure that we're prepared for the worst, and we hope for the best. You never want to have a storm, but compared to Ian and even Idalia, this one is not leaving the same destruction in its wake. We know there's a lot of water. We know that presents hazards, and we'll be ready to work accordingly. We are not, Kevin and I are not going to be getting on the road today. We're going to continue to monitor, let the storm get through the state, and then we will go to some spots tomorrow to be able to help with the pods and some of the other stuff that are going on. You know, frequently when these things happen, you go down and you go on a tour to inspect the damage. And the good thing is that there's not really a place where you would do a big tour of the damage compared to what we saw with Idalia and certainly what we saw with Hurricane Ian. There's still risks. There's risk from a lot of water, but from a wind perspective, this was not at the level of the previous storms that we've seen in this state. So all in all, especially given that these folks had already been hit 11 months ago, we were glad that we're getting reports that we're not seeing a lot of widespread wind damage, even in those very sensitive areas, given what they went through. But we will be on the road tomorrow, and we will be going to affected areas and continuing with our relief and support efforts. All right, does anyone have any questions?
When do you expect the storm to completely clear the state?
Well, the eye of the storm is basically North Florida, South Georgia right now. I think there's probably going to be some bans that are going to continue.
Yes, sir. We're going to continue to get bans, but the eye wall is at the state line.
Yeah. So.
Started the attention. We'll move on then, with the media and everybody.
No, I mean, I think that if you look at how this is going and the amount of water, you're looking at places like Savannah and Charleston, which are going to see a lot of water, potentially a lot of flooding. For those of you, my wife went to college at Charleston, so I've been there, and I mean, it could be like a light sun shower and they can flood there. I mean, it is very sensitive to a lot of water. So I think that both Georgia and South Carolina are probably going to brace, and we'll see. We'll hope for the best there. But I do think you're going to see a tension on that because this is just a lot of water. When a lot of water dumps in areas that are sensitive to flooding, you end up potentially seeing some events. Now, I don't know if that's definitely going to happen, but if you look at how they're mapping this now, that's the case. We don't need the cameras. We don't need. We'll be where we need to be. I remember going to Hurricane Michael. That happened before I was even governor, going down there, and we were doing things down there for years to be able to help, which is a very catastrophic Category 5 storm. So we're going to do it. We'll make sure that our folks that all these missions are complete. And I think if you look at the number of missions that have been done by Kevin and his team, that is not ordinary. That is not how this stuff normally works. And in other parts of the country, it would not work this way. So they've done a really, really good job, and we'll continue to do it. There is going to be damage from this storm. There has been, there will be. But compared to some of the things that I think Floridians have been used to in the last 5 or 10 years, this is not Hurricane Michael. This is not Hurricane Ian, but it is a very saturating, wet storm. And as Kevin said, these riverines, when they get to be a certain level, and when they crest, and the water that's going to come down from Georgia, it's just going to be something we're going to be on alert for, not just throughout today, but for the next week.
The Florida delegation in Congress is asking the president to amend his disaster declaration to include debris removal. I guess can I talk about how important that is and why it wasn't included in the original declaration?
So in the governor's original declaration request that he signed and sent up to the White House, it was included. We requested what's referred to as Category A, or debris removal, and Category B, all items inside of what's referred to as emergency protective measures. The DEC request that we got back as to what was approved was Category B, the emergency protective measures related only to evacuation and sheltering, and direct federal assistance. For some counties, only direct federal assistance for evacuation and sheltering provided only by the federal government in other counties. So they did not include any debris removal as being a part of that emergency declaration. We will go back. There's a way to do this a couple of different ways. Number one is the delegation has petitioned the White House to give us that and reconsider it. But what we will also do in parallel is we will go and do the damage assessments, and that's what we talked about today. We're going to go and start doing that in earnest tomorrow. And then when we get the necessary data that proves that we have met thresholds, then we can then ask for a major disaster declaration, which will include debris, all emergency protective measures, and then permanent work.
Is this unusual? Because you guys do the pre-disaster declarations fairly often now.
Yeah, we do a pre-disaster declaration for every hurricane that we have. I would say Cody, it's mixed. Obviously, the bigger the storm, the faster those things happen, and we get what we call in our world an auto declaration where we get everything up front. Whereas in other situations, like the tornadoes that we just had here in Tallahassee, we had to do it the old-fashioned way, what we call the old-fashioned way, which we had to go and show our work, prove our work, show our math. So this is kind of in between. We got a little bit, but not everything that we were asking for.
And these, the damage assessments are just starting, so we'll see. We'll see what level of debris there is. Hopefully, it's not a lot of debris. I remember seeing the debris left in the wake of Hurricane Michael. It's like you could go like a mile outside the storm and you didn't even know. But anything that was in that, there was debris everywhere. Ian, there was debris everywhere. You have some of these local, particularly when you're talking about financially constrained counties, sometimes in these big storms, you could have a debris bill that's more than the entire budget. In fact, many more times, I think Mexico Beach in the Panhandle, their debris budget, I think they had like $100 million in debris, and their annual budget was less than $10 million, or maybe even less than $5 million, if I remember correctly. So those are things that are there. So we'll see where we are with that. But I'm confident if there's a need for assistance with debris. I mean, I think we probably will get it. I just think it's probably premature to know for sure exactly what we're looking at. And Kevin and his team and other folks in the state are doing that. So my hope is that it's a minimal amount and that everyone gets what they need to be able to take care of it. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.